Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop.
Is this for along the bottom of the vanity?
Well, could you get the same stuff along the top?
This is the door frame.
They're too wide for the tub.
In front of the tub? Yeah, I don't think you want to go that big. You could go, that's more like the size you'd want along the side of the tub. It wouldn't be as high, and I think that might look better. And that'll definitely fill the gap. These are both the same size, they're just one's longer. So that's quarter round along the bottom of the tub. I like that. I was wondering around the outside edge of the tub, and I was thinking,
You mean like the top?
yeah.
After a trip to the lumberyard, I had a pretty good idea what I was going to do as far as the outside of it. But then I had to build a structure for the inside of it. What's going to go in underneath to support all this thin, lightweight trim?
To have this fit over the tub surround, I need to notch this out down 1 1/4 inches and back about 3/8 of an inch, about halfway. The flange is about 1/4, and I want to give a little room for. I want to put a mark on this thing so I can follow it. There's that mark. Now set this for 3/8. The flange is not exactly flat. So right now, I'm going to set this to cut 1 1/4 inches deep. Loosen up the lever over here on the side. And most saws are set up similar to this. And I have the square set up at 1 1/4 inches. I have one of the teeth down, pointed as far down as it'll go, and then I double check, measure twice, cut once. There we go. Works better if you have a little tension on the shoe. Works better if you have a little tension on the locking handle for this table. And that way when you move it, it's off a little resistance and it doesn't bounce on you. Now, to do this, it's going to require a little finesse, because I need to be able to drop down in and cut along. This 425 is nice because the handles work together. You can disassociate them and have it go in skewed, but it's nice that they run, you know, both handles run at the same, kind of stays parallel. Now I'll put the battery back on. I never adjust the saw with a battery connected, just like you'd unplug it from the wall if it was a corded saw, because it's awful easy to grab the wrong thing. Even though this got a double trigger, you have to push that down and then pull that out. Even with that, it's easy to bump the thing when you got your hands in some place where they could get hurt. Now we line up and do the plunge cut. Lift the guard up. Look where the blade is. Now they sell a fence that goes in here and latches down, but it's not a very good fence, and most fences on these little saws are too small, they wobble around. So I'm gripping the front of the shoe here, and I'm using my finger as a stop. Have to go a little bit past the line because otherwise it will not cut deep enough because the blade is curved. And I'll still have to chisel that out, but I don't want to go 4 inches past. It weakens that spot. Yeah, we're down 1.25 inches. That's good. Now I set the saw for 3/8. Once again, taking the battery off. Just a little tension on it. Rest the tip of the square against the shoe and make sure that I'm at 3/8, and then we're good. And I lock it down. Little handle here sets the table. So now I've got this. Now I'm going to clamp this down to the table. I could try sinking it into the table, but I think I'd have better luck with clamps. Let's see. Yep. And I'm just going to clamp it up here on the front so I don't push it off the table. And then I'll have to move it. Once I get up to about this point, I'll have to move the clamp. Put the battery back on. Yep, we're good to go. Once again, this is a plunge cut, so pull the guard up. Now I move the clamp. And I want to have the saw riding on the table as much as possible. So this is supported and not wobbling around. There. Now I need to cut across this way. And for that, I'm going to snip over here on the other side. I should be able to just pop this out of there. At least that's the theory. This is a really rough chisel. It works, But it's the kind of chisel that you use for this work, because it doesn't really matter if you muck it up a little bit. Now this is going to come out in pieces because there's knots in the wood. And that puts twisty grain in there and makes it so that it doesn't want to come apart. But it worked. I cut a little shallow. Now normally this would be a table saw job, and I did spend a lot of time getting the table saw out of the blacksmith shop so I could use it. Actually not out, but out accessible from the blacksmith shop. But it's raining like somebody's pouring something out of a boot. So that would make it a little bit difficult to work out there. So I'm doing it by hand. Well, using a power saw, but guiding it by hand. This is where a rabbit plane shines. Cleaning up little rough spots. This is a Miller Falls number 85. Quite a handy little tool. It's one of them that's going to be up for auction on eBay. Because I have 3 of them. And 90% of the time I don't use them. When you need one, it's very nice to have, but you don't need 3. Unless you do this kind of work constant and continuous, which is kind of a rarity for me. There. Handy little thing to have. And I haven't even cleaned up or sharpened this one. This is just as it came to me from the junk shop. Nothing done to it other than pick it up and use it. Okay. Well, we have the trim cut and it's ready to go fit into place. Just seeing what I was doing?
I thought you called me.
No, I just asked if you could pause it for a second so I didn't have the music and the sound in the background.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's okay. To cover up this flange on the tub surround, I needed to do that carved out spot in the trim. And to allow for the larger tub, I had to build this stub wall out. Reinforced it so I could put a handhold there. And now I'm ready to start cladding this thing up. This board just gets painted, then another board goes across. This board gets painted, then another board goes across the front, and that'll be painted too. And the third and final board goes from the 2x4 out and joins the board that faces it off. So that'll be painted the same color as the walls. Hopefully it'll make it somewhat disappear. And that is the plan with the trim. Been a long, hard slog, but we're getting there.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.